We're here at the Pioneer Sugar Bush. We're gonna talk a little bit about making maple syrup today. The history of it is the Native Americans took a hatchet and hit a tree, and the sap came out of it, and they used that to cook with, and they learned that that made maple syrup, and it was really nice and sweet. Today we use plastic buckets and spouts, and we also use lines. But right now, Tanner will show us how to use buckets.
So to tap a tree, you gotta take your drill with a 5/16 drill bit, drill a hole in the tree. You take your spile, you put it in, you tap it in until it's nice and snug in there. Then you take your lid, you take this pin out, and there's a hole in the spile you gotta slide it through. Then you gotta lock that pin in so it doesn't come out. Then you put your bucket on this hook, and then sap will start flowing out of this tube on the spile and then into the bucket, and that's how we collect sap out of the tree using buckets.
Okay guys, we're gonna look at another method of collecting the sap. Right here we got Garrett and Caleb, and they're gonna show us how to tap the lines. And so it's similar to the buckets, but instead of having a bucket on a tree, it uses the lines. So now they're going to show you how to put the tap in the tree.
So to start off, you got to drill your hole. Then you got to take your tap, put it in the hole, and you tap it in there until it gets nice and tight. But you don't want to tap it too far or you'll break it off. Now Caleb's going to show you how the line works.
Now these taps are a little bit different than the other ones. They have this little ball in here. It's so that when the tree stops flowing at night, it doesn't want to suck the sap back through the line. The sap will come out the tap, and it'll just gravity feed down this line into the main line. Now your main line is normally a little bit bigger, but this is just for demonstration.
And then once it runs in the main line, it'll gravity flow down to a holding tank or to the sugar house, where then we will boil the sap and make maple syrup. Now let's go check out the sugar house. Okay, I'm Connor Wolzen, and this is Fred, and we're here in the Pioneer FFA sugar house in our ag barn. So when we collect the sap from our buckets that we just showed previously, we bring the sap into this holding tank here, and then we run it through a filter before we put it in the holding tank to make sure that our sap is clean. And then once we do that, the sap runs down this pipe through this preheater into the float box. The float box controls how much sap is in the pans. This helps so you don't burn the pans. And then once the sap runs into the pans, it'll run around like this, then through pipes over here into this front pan. And then once it gets to about here, it's just about maple syrup. Then we look at this thermometer here, and 0 is boiling point, and you want to take the maple syrup off of the pans at 7 degrees above boiling. Once we take the maple syrup off, you run it through this filter to make sure it's clean, and then we dump it into that box over there, which is a filter box. Once it runs through the filter box, we put it in that barrel that heats it up, and we use it to sometimes finish off our syrup, and then we use that little valve there to bottle the syrup into bottles, and then we have bottled maple syrup. Okay, so this is our filter box, which has syrup in it. So what we do is we turn this here, we run the syrup into our bottler, which will heat it up, and we'll say that the syrup is really hot. So then once we get the syrup, the hot syrup, into this bottler, then we get our maple syrup bottle. This is a maple syrup bottle. We set it under here, we turn this valve to fill it up. And once it's filled up, we put the lid on, tighten the lid down, and there's a seal on the lid that will seal because the syrup is really hot. And then here we go, we have a fresh sealed bottle of New York maple syrup for anybody ready to use to dump on your pancakes.